Hey everyone, welcome back to Chew on This. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that's probably crossed your mind more times than you can count. Expiration dates on food. Imagine this, you're standing in front of your fridge holding a carton of milk. You glance at the date and see it's a day past the sell-by date. Do you pour it down the drain without a second thought? Or maybe you've found a can of soup buried in your pantry that's been there longer than you'd like to admit, and you're wondering if it's still safe to eat. We've all been there. But what if I told you that you might be wasting perfectly good food? Let's get to the bottom of what those dates really mean. First off, let's talk about that sell-by date. It's important to know that this date is primarily meant for retailers. It's the manufacturer's way of suggesting when the store should sell the product to make sure it's at its best quality when you take it home. But just because a product passes this date doesn't mean it suddenly becomes unsafe or spoiled. In fact, many items can still be good days or even weeks after this date has passed. Then there's the best before date. This one is all about quality, not safety. It tells you when the food will be at its peak flavor and texture. But if you happen to eat something a little past its best before date, it might not be as fresh, but it's usually still fine. It's like having a slightly overripe banana. Maybe not perfect, but still edible. Now, let's discuss the use-by date. This is the closest thing to a safety guideline, especially for items like dairy, meat, and prepackaged salads. It's a more conservative estimate to ensure you're consuming the product at its safest and best. However, even with the use-by date, there's some wiggle room. If that yogurt smells fine and doesn't have mold, it's probably still good. And what about the expiration date? This is generally the last date recommended for using the product while it's still at its best quality. But here's the kicker. Even this date isn't a strict rule. Especially for items like canned goods or shelf-stable foods, they can often be safe to eat well past this date as long as they've been stored properly. So why do these dates exist if they don't necessarily mean the food is unsafe? The truth is, these labels are more about protecting the brand's image. Manufacturers want you to enjoy their products at their very best, so you'll keep buying them. There's also a regulatory side to it, with different countries having varying rules about what needs to be labeled. This inconsistency just adds to the confusion we all feel when trying to decide what's safe to eat. Here's the hidden truth. Food manufacturers and retailers actually benefit when you throw out food as soon as it passes its labeled date. Why? Because it means you're likely to buy more. It's estimated that up to 40% of food in the U.S. is wasted, much of it because of confusion over expiration dates. That's not just bad for your wallet, but it's terrible for the environment too. So how can you avoid wasting good food? The first step is to trust your senses. Look at the food. Does it have unusual discoloration, mold, or signs of spoilage? Give it a sniff. If it has an off or sour odor, that's a clear sign it's time to toss it. If it passes those tests, try a small taste. If it tastes off, then you can get rid of it. But if everything seems normal, you're likely safe to enjoy it. Proper storage also plays a huge role in extending the life of your food. Make sure your fridge is set to the right temperature, below 40 degrees, and keep pantry items in a cool, dry place. Freezing can be a lifesaver for extending the shelf life of many foods beyond their labeled dates. And when it comes to shelf-stable foods like canned goods, dried pasta, and grains, these can last much longer than you might think. As long as the can isn't bulging, rusted, or dented, and the dry goods are free from moisture and pests, they're usually still good to go. At the end of the day, the most important tool you have is your own judgment. If something doesn't seem right, it's better to be safe than sorry. But if everything looks, smells, and tastes fine, you're probably okay to eat it, even if it's a bit past the date on the package. So next time you're cleaning out your fridge or pantry, remember that those dates are just guidelines, not hard rules. By using your senses and a little common sense, you can save money, reduce waste, and still enjoy delicious meals. Don't let those labels scare you into throwing away perfectly good food. If you found this information helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more tips, and let me know in the comments. What's the oldest item you found in your pantry that was still good to eat? Until next time, keep questioning what you've been told and chew on this.